Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Bold and Beautiful. Today, 4 people traveled to Italy for employment, but only 2 returned alive. How far will Taylor Hayes go to prevent the reunion of Bridge? Not very long ago, Taylor Hayes was having food fights and forcing other guys to sleep with Brooke Logan, but she has since calmed down on the Bold and the Beautiful. According to B&B spoilers, Bridge will experience romance in Naples, Italy, and Taylor is aware in her heart that she is losing Ridge Forrester once more. To keep her boyfriend, how far will she go? Below are spoilers for what will happen next on Bold and Beautiful. Fighting for her man is not a problem for Taylor. According to B&B spoilers, Taylor Hayes is aware that Ridge and Brooke may cheat while they are in Italy and can see the writing on the wall. Taylor takes the next best step after being excluded and urges Captain Nick Marone to spend a lot of time with Brooke in Europe. Taylor has been in Italy for a while and is regarded as a bit of a jet-setter. She could easily board a plane and travel to Italy on her own. Knowing that Eric Forrester is attempting to get the ex-partners back together, Ridge's fiancé may even choose to attend the Forrester Creations trip to ensure that nothing strange is happening. Italy's Brooke and Ridge canoodle. Unfortunately, Bradley Bell has already hinted that Brooke and Ridge are endgame, so it doesn't matter what Taylor does. We are aware that something that occurs in Italy changes everything and causes Ridge Forrester to reconsider. Taylor is headed for an emotional bruise, and her engagement will not last long. Do you believe Taylor Hayes will go too far in attempting to avert the inevitable? Will she go to Italy with them? Taylor is shocked by Ridge's betrayal, and Steffi gives up and takes Sheila. Nick Marone, Eric Forrester, Ridge Forrester, and Brooke Logan are traveling to Italy for the fashion show. The fact that Brooke invited Nick to accompany her makes Ridge unhappy. He has stated unequivocally that Brooke can move on without Nick. Ridge can be with whomever he wants, but not Taylor Hayes, according to Brooke's statements. They are at a turning point. When Ridge has a life-altering event and realizes the truth, the B&B viewers can anticipate that it will all come full circle in Italy. Ridge's transformative experience. According to previews for The Bold and the Beautiful, Ridge will experience a transformative incident in Italy. While in the water, Ridge's life is shown to him in the spoiler images. Although Brooke is the love of his life, he acknowledges that he loves Taylor. Before departing Italy, Ridge is likely to declare his love for Brooke. Given that she has advocated for a reunion since their split, Brooke is probably amenable to it. Taylor will lose it when she finds out about Ridge's treachery. Although she had expected Brooke to get involved, she had relied on Ridge to keep her distance. Steffi Forrester is probably going to be upset with the circumstance. For the first time, she thought her parents were doing well, but that will be a waste of time. As she helps her mother heal from her heartbreak, she won't have her brother Thomas Forrester to rely on this time. Steffi and Sheila reconcile. The two will be headed toward a better relationship as Steffi expresses gratitude to Sheila Carter-Sharp for saving her life. Because Steffi believed Sheila was a threat to her family, she had barred her from their lives. She will no longer experience that emotion. Steffi talks to John Finnegan about allowing Sheila to live with them and be close to their kids. Given the history of animosity between his wife and biological mother, Finn is likely to feel uneasy about the abrupt change. Steffi admits that she doesn't see any justification for separating Sheila from their family. She thinks her life might have been drastically altered by his biological mother. Nick suggests Bridge's boat excursion. Nick Marone, Brooke Logan, and Ridge Forrester's escape. When Brooke Logan arrives. Let's start with Ridge and Brooke. Together with Eric Forrester and others, both are in Italy on business. Brooke wants to reunite with Ridge, despite their business trip. Taylor Hayes asked Nick to watch over her even though she won't be accompanying Ridge. Ridge's ex-wife threatened to accompany Nick after he reminded her that he was devoted to Taylor. Together, Eric Forrester and Donna Logan's greeting Bridge speed through the sea in an opulent boat. Brooke chose to accompany Nick, but something had to happen. Ridge makes sure Nick doesn't arrive on time, or they part ways. Ridge and Brooke, meantime, take a boat to the location where they are all vacationing. Eric and Donna Logan wave down at them from atop a cliff. Eric shouts for them to rise. Nick Marone's request. Nick arrives in Italy, but he isn't with Brooke, according to spoilers for the week of July 28 on The Bold and the Beautiful. I wonder whether Brooke was forced to accompany Ridge and the others since the seaman was mysteriously late to the plane. Nick is seen pleading with a man on the street in the promo video. According to Nick, he needs a boat. "Let the fun begin," Nick says later in the promo video. The modeling of Steffi Forrester Finnegan. Additionally, there are shots of models showing off. One model in one scene appears to resemble Steffi Forrester Finnegan, but I'm not positive. Nick's engagement ring box is also hinted at. Will Nick attempt to close the deal with Brooke as a result? How will Ridge respond to the information? Ridge is correct, but Eric has been trying to get Bridge back together. He made this choice and this is his life. Anyway, with Brooke falling into the water, there should be a lot of drama. Both guys will undoubtedly rush to her aid, but which one will be her hero for all time? Ridge Forrester, again. Gone are the days of slapstick food fights in the Forrester living room, childish outbursts masking deeper wounds. The stakes are exponentially higher now, etched in the promise of an engagement ring and the terrifying specter of Brooke Logan reclaiming her throne in Ridge's fractured heart. Taylor, the esteemed psychiatrist, the pillar of reason, knows with chilling certainty that the meticulously rebuilt life she shares with Ridge is crumbling beneath the gravitational pull of Bridge, a force seemingly written in the stars themselves, amplified now by Eric Forrester's orchestrated reunion in the sun-drenched, romance-soaked paradise of Naples, Italy. This exclusion from the pivotal Italian trip isn't merely a slight, it's a klaxon blaring her impending obsolescence, a confirmation of her deepest fear, that Ridge's return to her arms was less a final choice and more a temporary harbor in a storm Brooke is uniquely equipped to weather. And so, the chilling question hangs heavy, thick as the Neapolitan air: how far will Taylor Hayes go to stop the Bridge reunion, and what remnants of her integrity will be sacrificed in this desperate, dirty fight for her man? Taylor's history is not one of passive acceptance. She is a strategist, a woman who understands the power of leverage and the devastating impact of a well-placed emotional bomb. Recall the calculated cruelty of sending Nick Marone to seduce Brooke, a move less about genuine affection for Nick and Brooke and more about creating an irrevocable wedge between Brooke and Ridge, a surgical strike designed to exploit Brooke's vulnerabilities and shatter Ridge's trust. It was dirty pool, a manipulation that exploited Brooke's struggles and weaponized intimacy. That Taylor is capable of such Machiavellian tactics is undeniable. It's a precedent she set, proving her willingness to cross ethical lines when cornered by the Brooke-shaped specter in her relationship. Now, facing an eerily similar existential threat, the potent combination of Eric's machinations, Brooke's proximity, and Italy's intoxicating allure, that dormant ruthlessness is stirring. The writing on the wall, as spoilers chillingly note, isn't just scribbled, it's etched in neon. She knows Brooke and Ridge, isolated in a city synonymous with passion, are a powder keg waiting for a spark. The mere possibility of them hitting the sheets isn't a paranoid fantasy, it's a statistically probable outcome given their history and the circumstances, a probability Taylor cannot, will not, abide. Her initial countermove, encouraging Nick Marone to once again lay it on thick with Brooke in Europe, is a chilling echo of past tactics, a deliberate, dirty recycling of a strategy that inflicted profound pain. It reveals a disturbing continuity in her thinking. Brooke remains the target, Brooke's perceived weakness for male attention the chink in the armor. Taylor, the psychiatrist, diagnoses Brooke's need for validation. Taylor, the desperate fiancé, seeks to weaponize that diagnosis. Sending Nick isn't about Brooke finding happiness, it's about creating chaos, distraction, and ideally, another scandalous moment Ridge might witness or learn about, another crack in the fragile bridge rebuilding between Brooke and her ex-husband. It's interference at a distance, a way for Taylor to exert control from the safety of Los Angeles, dirty but deniable. However, the sheer distance, the agonizing uncertainty of what unfolds thousands of miles away, may prove intolerable. Taylor is, as noted, a jet-setter. Italy is familiar territory. The barrier between her and the unfolding drama in Naples isn't a wall, it's merely a few hours and a first-class ticket. The temptation to transition from remote manipulation to boots-on-the-ground intervention will be overwhelming. The thought of Eric actively playing Cupid, of Brooke and Ridge wandering ancient ruins or sharing candlelit dinners overlooking the Tyrrhenian Sea, will fester into an unbearable obsession. Crashing the Forrester Creations trip isn't just a possibility, it becomes a terrifyingly logical escalation in her mind. Imagine her arrival, not as a supportive partner, but as an avenging angel disguised in couture, descending upon Naples to make sure there's no funny business. Her presence alone would be a grenade tossed into the delicate détente, a constant, visible reminder of the life Ridge supposedly chose, instantly transforming the trip from a potential bridge reconnection into a pressure cooker of tension, suspicion, and public confrontation. Taylor wouldn't just be monitoring, she'd be actively sabotaging every private moment, leveraging her status as the wronged fiancé to manipulate Ridge's guilt and Brooke's discomfort, turning the Italian idyll into a battlefield where civility is the first casualty. Yet, the cruelest irony, the deepest cut for Taylor, lies in the spoiler's stark declaration: Brooke and Ridge are endgame. Bradley Bell's teaser isn't subtle, it's a narrative death knell for Taylor's engagement. The game-changer in Italy, the catalyst for Ridge's inevitable change of heart, looms like an unavoidable tsunami. Taylor's frantic efforts, the encouragement of Nick, a potential dramatic appearance in Naples, any dirty trick she might pull from her increasingly tattered playbook, seem destined to crash against the immovable rock of Brooke and Ridge's preordained destiny. This knowledge, this foreshadowed heartbreak, doesn't temper her desperation, it fuels it. The engagement is short-lived, she's cruising for an emotional bruising. These aren't gentle warnings, they are prophecies of devastation. This impending doom doesn't invite resignation, it invites reckless, last-ditch escalation born of sheer panic. How dirty will she play when faced with the undeniable evidence that her fight is fundamentally unwinnable? Will the psychiatrist who once championed healing succumb to the poison of planting lies or fabricating evidence? Could she orchestrate a crisis back home demanding Ridge's immediate return, exploiting his sense of duty? Might she deliberately engineer a public scene designed to humiliate Brooke or force Ridge into a defensive, loyalty-proving stance? The potential for her to cross lines previously unthinkable, surveilling them, hacking communications, or even resorting to physical intervention in a heated moment, becomes terrifyingly plausible when the alternative is the complete annihilation of her future with Ridge. Taylor Hayes stands at a precipice. The woman who fought with spaghetti now fights with the shattered pieces of her own carefully constructed persona. Her love for Ridge, once a source of strength, has curdled into a desperate, consuming obsession that blinds her to the self-destructive path she's carving. The dirtiness of her tactics is no longer just about winning Ridge, it's become a distorted expression of her terror, her rage against the perceived injustice of losing him to Brooke again, and a futile rebellion against the narrative fate seemingly dictated by the show's creator. Naples represents not just a romantic setting for Ridge, but the potential crucible for Taylor's final, tragic metamorphosis. Will she merely play dirty, recycling old manipulations and causing predictable chaos? Or, cornered by the inevitability of Ridge and the specter of utter humiliation, will she plunge into true darkness, crossing ethical and moral boundaries that erase the Dr. Hayes we once knew, leaving only a vengeful specter consumed by a love turned toxic? The answer lies in the shadows of Naples, where Taylor's desperation meets destiny's cruel design, and the cost of her fight may ultimately be her own soul. Brooke Logan, Ridge Forrester, Eric Forrester, and Nick Marone descended upon the prestigious event. From the outset, the air crackled not with creative anticipation, but with the raw voltage of unresolved history and forbidden attraction. Ridge's displeasure at Brooke's choice of +1, Nick Marone, was a palpable storm cloud darkening the chic ambience. His edict, delivered with the finality of a gavel strike, echoed relentlessly in Brooke's mind: she was free to move on, anyone but Nick. Brooke, mirroring his possessiveness with wounded defiance, had issued her own ultimatum: Ridge could find solace wherever he wished, anyone but Taylor Hayes. They stood at an agonizing impasse, two titans locked in a destructive orbit fueled by decades of love, betrayal, and an inability to truly let go, their journey seemingly destined to retrace its own painful steps amidst the Renaissance backdrop. Yet, destiny, in the cruel, poetic way of soap operas, had a far more visceral reckoning in store than mere recycled arguments. As the whirlwind of the event unfolded, a moment of terrifying vulnerability would shatter Ridge's carefully constructed world. Captured in fleeting, haunting spoiler images, Ridge found himself plunged into the churning, indifferent embrace of water, not the gentle Mediterranean surf, but a chaotic, life-threatening immersion. In that suspended instant between life and oblivion, time fractured. His life didn't merely flash before his eyes, it blazed, a supernova of fragmented memories. The fierce, grounding love of Taylor Hayes, his steadfast partner through recent storms, her unwavering belief in him and their hard-won reunion, flooded his senses with warmth and security. But colliding violently with this image was the incandescent, all-consuming passion that defined Brooke Logan, the woman branded as his soulmate across decades of dizzying highs and devastating lows. The near-drowning wasn't just a physical crisis, it was an existential detonation, stripping away layers of rationalization and stubborn pride, forcing an agonizing clarity amidst the suffocating darkness. The love for Taylor was real, profound, a sanctuary he cherished. Yet, the terrifying, undeniable truth that roared within his waterlogged chest as his vision dimmed was the irrevocable, primal claim Brooke held on the very core of his being. She was, against all reason and recent history, the love of his life, the inescapable gravity well of his existence. Emerging gasping and shaken from the water, a man fundamentally altered, Ridge was propelled not by logic, but by the raw, life-affirming imperative of his near-death epiphany. Before the Italian sun could set on their trip, driven by a desperate need to anchor himself to the truth he'd almost died denying, Ridge sought Brooke out. Words, heavy with the weight of mortality and revelation, tumbled forth, a raw, unfiltered confession of his undying love, a plea forged in the crucible of near oblivion. Brooke, her own resolve perpetually porous where Ridge was concerned, her heart still tethered to him despite the painful separation and her defiant stance with Nick, found his desperate vulnerability impossible to resist. The wall she'd tried to build crumbled, the ember of hope for bridge that she had stubbornly fanned since their split ignited into a consuming flame. In the shadow of ancient ruins, a new ruin was born, the betrayal of Taylor Hayes. Back in Los Angeles, the tremor of Ridge's Italian revelation struck Taylor Hayes like a physical blow. The news, whether delivered in a hesitant phone call, a devastatingly blunt confession upon his return, or cruelly leaked through the relentless gossip mill, landed with the force of a sledgehammer. Taylor, the embodiment of poised strength and psychiatric insight, unraveled. This wasn't the predictable interference from Brooke she had steeled herself against. This was a fundamental rupture of trust from the man she had rebuilt her life and love around. She had trusted Ridge implicitly, believed in the solidity of their renewed commitment, trusted him to hold Brooke firmly at arm's length as he had promised. His betrayal wasn't just infidelity, it was a demolition of the fragile trust painstakingly reconstructed after years of heartache. The foundation of her world, seemingly so secure, dissolved into shifting sand, leaving her drowning in a sea of disbelief, humiliation, and soul-crushing grief. Her carefully maintained composure shattered, revealing raw, unvarnished pain. Witnessing this devastation, Steffi Forrester Finnegan, Taylor's fiercely protective daughter, erupted in righteous fury. Seeing her mother, the woman who had endured so much and finally found happiness with Ridge, reduced to shattered fragments ignited a white-hot rage within her. The dream of her parents reunited, finally stable and happy after decades of turmoil, a dream she had championed and fought for, lay in ruins at Ridge's feet. How could he do this? Again, became her anguished mantra. The bitter irony was crushing, she had finally felt her family was on solid ground, only to watch it swallowed by the same old quicksand of Ridge's indecision and Brooke's gravitational pull. The absence of her brother, Thomas Forrester, a usually stalwart ally in family crises, was a keenly felt wound. Without his pragmatic, if sometimes morally ambiguous, support to lean on, the burden of helping her mother navigate this fresh hell fell solely on Steffi's shoulders, amplifying her anger and her sense of isolation. She became Taylor's fierce advocate, her shield against the world, while simultaneously burning with resentment towards her father for inflicting this renewed agony. Yet, in a staggering parallel narrative of profound psychological shift, Steffi Forrester Finnegan was simultaneously navigating a transformation so radical it seemed to defy her very essence. The source? Sheila Carter Sharp, the woman who had been the architect of so much terror in Steffi's life. Sheila's unexpected, almost mythical, act of saving Steffi from a violent attacker had planted a seed of dissonance in Steffi's previously immovable hatred. The simple, profound act of expressing gratitude, "Thank you for saving my life," had been a monumental step. Now, that seed was rapidly germinating into something unforeseen: acceptance. The fortress walls Steffi had meticulously built to keep Sheila forever banished from her family's life, walls fortified by years of trauma, kidnapping attempts, and the constant fear Sheila posed to her children, Hayes and Kelly, began to crumble. The visceral danger Sheila once represented seemed to dissipate in the harsh light of this new reality. Sheila had saved her. The woman Steffi had demonized, the constant threat she had battled with every fiber of her being, had acted with selfless courage. The cognitive dissonance was immense, but Steffi, ever decisive, began to resolve it. She no longer saw the predatory Sheila, she saw a woman who had, in that critical moment, chosen humanity over her own monstrous past. The fear that had been Steffi's constant companion regarding Sheila evaporated, replaced by a cautious, bewildered sense of obligation and, perhaps, the nascent glimmer of something resembling familial connection. This seismic shift in perspective propelled Steffi towards her husband, John Finnegan, Sheila's biological son. Approaching him, Steffi unveiled her transformed outlook, advocating not just for tolerance, but for welcoming Sheila into the fabric of their lives. She spoke of allowing Sheila near their precious children, Hayes and Kelly, a notion that would have been unthinkable mere weeks before. "I see no reason to keep her away from our family anymore," Steffi asserted, her voice carrying a conviction born of her near-death experience and Sheila's pivotal role in it. She ventured further, voicing the startling speculation taking root in her mind: maybe she has really changed her life. Finn, the eternal optimist yet grounded in the brutal reality of Sheila's history, listened with growing unease. The suddenness of Steffi's reversal, the erasure of years of justified fear and animosity, unsettled him deeply. He knew the intricate tapestry of pain Sheila had woven, the manipulation, the violence, the relentless intrusion. While part of him yearned to believe in redemption, especially for his biological mother, the specter of that dark history loomed large, casting a long shadow over Steffi's newfound faith. He saw not just potential danger, but the profound psychological whiplash his wife was experiencing, caught between gratitude for her life and the terrifying prospect of embracing the monster who had once tried to destroy it. Thus, the Forrester family tapestry was violently torn asunder on multiple fronts, Ridge's near-death epiphany in Italy leading to a shattering betrayal that left Taylor heartbroken and Steffi furious at the destruction of her parents' fragile peace, while simultaneously, Steffi herself was performing an act of astonishing surrender, laying down her weapons in the war against Sheila Carter, advocating for her integration into their lives based on a single, life-altering act of heroism, leaving the future a terrifying, uncertain landscape where old demons might be embraced as family, and the deepest loves might prove to be the most devastating betrayals.